The letter trembled in my hands like a living thing, its crisp legal letterhead screaming privilege and power. 7 months pregnant. Standing in my empty classroom after school, I realized I'd just declared war on the wrong family. My name is Sarah Martinez. I teach math at Roosevelt High in Phoenix, and until 3 days ago, I believed in the system, believed that truth mattered more than money, that doing the right thing would protect you. God, I was naive. It started with numbers that didn't add up, not on paper, but in my gut. Tyler Brooks. The golden boy headed for Harvard, had jumped from a C average to perfect scores on practice SATs, not improved, perfect, in mathematics. We call that a statistical impossibility. In Tyler's world, they called it Tuesday. The Brooks family owned half of Phoenix. Their name gleamed on hospital wings, library additions, and most importantly, on the law firm that had just threatened to destroy my life. Brooks and Associates didn't send casual letters. They sent precision missiles designed to obliterate opposition. $500,000, I whispered, reading the amount again. Defamation, slander, intentional interference with prospective economic advantage. The legal terms blurred as my hand instinctively moved to my swollen belly. In 10 weeks. I'd be holding my daughter, or I'd be holding bankruptcy papers, maybe both. The truth was simpler than their fancy words. 3 days ago, I'd caught Tyler, Madison Chen, and Connor Wilson with answer keys to the upcoming SAT. Not practice tests, the actual exam, downloaded through what Tyler bragged was his connection. They'd been selling spots in their study group for $5,000 a seat, promising guaranteed scores above 700. When I reported it to Principal Thompson, his face had gone the color of old milk. Are you absolutely certain? Sarah, the Brooks family. They've been very generous to our district. I have photos, I'd said. Screenshots of their group chat. 23 students paid them. That's over $100,000. Bill. He'd nodded slowly, like a man accepting a terminal diagnosis. I'll handle it. Except handling it meant the Brooks family handling Mar. My phone buzzed. A text from my husband James. Home in 20. Should I grab dinner? How could I tell him James worked construction, breaking his back 12 hours a day so we could save for the baby? Our health insurance came through my job. Our everything came through my job. I sank into my desk chair, the same one where I'd graded thousands of papers, believing each red mark might help shape a future. The classroom felt different, now smaller, like walls closing in. 28 years old, first-generation college graduate, daughter of immigrants who cleaned offices so I could become what they couldn't. And here I was, David with a calculator facing Goliath's law degree. The door creaked open. Maria Rodriguez, our newest teacher, peered in. Sarah, you okay? You look like someone who just got sued for $500,000. I laughed, but it came out sharp, brittle. Maria's eyes widened. She slipped inside, closing the door behind her. The Brooks thing. You know, everyone knows. Tyler's been bragging that his dad's going to, and I quote, bury that pregnant bitch. The word hit like a physical blow. I'd been called worse. But somehow, reducing me to just a pregnant woman in his way made it real. This wasn't about education or integrity. This was about power, and who was allowed to challenge it. What are you going to do? Maria asked. I don't know. The admission felt like failure. Retract my statement, I guess. Apologize. Hope they— No! Maria's voice cut through my spiral. No, Sarah, if you back down, they win. They keep winning. And every teacher after you will know, cross the Brooks family. Lose everything. I can't afford a lawyer. Maria, do you know what discovery means in a case like this? They'll go through everything. Every email, every text, every financial record, looking for dirt, and even if they find nothing. The legal fees alone— Maria pulled out her phone. My cousin Carmen is a lawyer. She used to prosecute cases like this, made a name for herself taking down bullies who use the legal system as a weapon. I can't afford— She does pro bono work for teachers. It's kind of her thing. Maria was already dialing. Her daughter had a teacher who changed her life. Carmen never forgot. While Maria made the call, I stared at the letter again. The language was designed to terrify words like irreparable harm and malicious intent, scattered like landmines through the text. But between the threats, I saw something else fear. The Brooks family was scared. Why else unleash this kind of legal assault over a cheating scandal? Unless it went deeper than just Tyler's Harvard dreams. She'll see you tomorrow, Maria said, hanging up. 9 a.m., her office downtown. Sarah, Carmen said to tell you, document everything from now on. Every interaction, every threat, every weird look, and, she hesitated, maybe ask for a different parking spot. One near cameras. You think they'd— I think when people like Robert Brooks feel threatened, they don't fight fair. That night, I told James everything, watched his face cycle through confusion, anger, and finally, a quiet determination that reminded me why I'd married him. So we fight, he said simply, holding my hand across our kitchen table. My grandmother came here with nothing, worked fields for 30 years so her kids could have better. You think she'd want us to back down now? This isn't about principle anymore, James. This is about survival. Our daughter will grow up knowing her mother stood for something. He squeezed my hand. We'll figure out the money. But Sarah, if you apologize for telling the truth, what kind of world are we bringing her into? I wanted to believe him. But at 2 a.m., when I couldn't sleep, I Googled Robert Brooks. Image after image of him shaking hands with judges, golfing with state senators, cutting ribbons at charity galas. One photo showed him at a legal conference, speaking on a panel titled Aggressive Litigation Strategies in the Modern Era. The man had never lost a case in 25 years. Carmen Vasquez's office occupied the third floor of a building that had seen better decades. No marble lobby, no gleaming elevators, just worn carpet and the smell of strong coffee. But her walls told a different story. Newspaper clippings covered every surface. Vasquez wins record settlement for wrongfully terminated teacher. David Vertum, Goliath. How one lawyer took down a school board. The teacher's champion, Carmen Vasquez's crusade for educator rights. Carmen herself was compact energy in a sharp suit. Her desk organized chaos of legal files and coffee-stained notebooks. She read Brooks's letter with the focus of a surgeon studying an X-ray. Slap suit, she said finally. Strategic lawsuit against public participation. Basically, legal intimidation dressed up in fancy paper. Can they actually win? Doesn't matter. That's not the point. Carmen leaned back, fingers steepled. They don't need to win. They just need to drain you financially, emotionally until you break. Make an example of you so the next teacher thinks twice. She smiled, and it was sharp as glass. Lucky for you. I specialize in breaking their toys. She pulled out a legal pad. Tell me everything. Start from the beginning, every detail, even ones that seem irrelevant. For the next hour, I laid out the whole story, the sudden grade improvements, the whispered conversations that stopped when I walked by, the day I'd pretended to leave early, then circled back to find them in Tyler's car with the answer keys, how they'd been so confident, so careless, dividing up cash in the school parking lot. Did anyone else witness this? Carlos, the janitor. He was emptying trash nearby, and I hesitated. One of the students who paid them came to me last week. Guilt was eating her alive. She's willing to testify if needed. Carmen's pen flew across the page. Good. Now, here's what they don't want you to know. Brooks and Associates has problems. 3 complaints to the Bar Association in the last 2 years for intimidation tactics. Robert Brooks is brilliant, but he's also arrogant. He's used to people folding at the first threat. I almost did, but you didn't. And that tells me everything I need to know. Carmen set down her pen. Sarah, I need you to understand what we're walking into. They'll hire private investigators. They'll dig through your past, your husband's past, looking for anything to discredit you. They'll make your pregnancy a liability, claim emotional instability. It's going to get ugly. Uglier than threatening to take everything I have? Yes. Her voice was gentle but firm. Because right now, they're just trying to scare you. Once we respond, once they realize you won't fold, they'll try to destroy you. My hand moved to my belly again. 7 months. 7 months of growing this life, planning her future, choosing names with James. Isabella, if she had my dark hair. Grace, if she had his green eyes. I need to think about it, I said. Carmen nodded. Take the weekend. But Sarah, while you're thinking, remember, you're not the first teacher they've done this to. You're just the first one with proof. That stopped me cold. There were others. 2 years ago, a PE teacher noticed their athletic equipment orders didn't match deliveries. Hundreds of thousands in missing inventory. She reported it. And within a week, faced a harassment lawsuit from a Brooks family associate. She transferred districts. Last year, an English teacher questioned why Tyler's essays suddenly went from barely coherent to scholarship quality. She got anonymous death threats until she requested early retirement. And nothing happened. Nothing provable happened. That's how they operate pressure. Fear, legal threats, make the cost of truth too high to pay. Carmen stood, walked to her wall of clippings. But every bully makes a mistake eventually. They get cocky, push too hard, pick the wrong fight. She turned back to me. Maybe this is that fight. The weekend passed in a blur of research and soul-searching. James installed security cameras around our house, just in case, he said. But I saw the worry in his eyes. I documented everything, creating files with timestamps, saving every text and email. Sunday night. Tyler's Instagram story showed him at a resort in Scottsdale. Champagne glass raised. The caption read, "When peasants try to play in the king's court." His friends' comments were worse vulgar, threatening, specific about what they hoped would happen to me. I screenshotted everything. Monday morning came too soon. I'd decided to fight, had called Carmen to confirm. But walking into Roosevelt High felt different now. The hallways seemed longer, shadows deeper. Every whispered conversation might be about me. Every look from a student could be measurement for a knife in the back. My first period class was subdued. Word had spread, it always did in high schools, and the usual chatter was replaced by uncomfortable silence. Even my best students avoided eye contact, like proximity to me might be contagious. "Today we're covering probability," I said, writing equations on the board with hands that barely shook. "Can anyone tell me the likelihood of flipping a coin and getting heads 50 times in a row?" Silence. "Come on. Anyone." Finally, Jasmine Walker, one of my brightest, raised her hand tentatively. "It's like basically impossible." "Basically impossible is right. 1 in a quadrillion. That's a 1 with 15 zeros. So when something that should be basically impossible happens, I turned from the board, meeting their eyes. Maybe it's not chance. Maybe it's cheating. A few nervous laughs. Someone whispered, "She really went there." "Math doesn't lie," I continued, returning to the board. "People do. Numbers don't. That's why I love teaching this subject. In a world full of fake news and alternative facts, mathematics remains pure, true." I set down the marker. "Now, who can show me the formula?" The lesson continued, but I felt the shift. Some students leaned forward, engaged despite the tension. Others sat rigid, probably calculating whether being seen as my supporter was worth the risk. During my free period, I found a note slipped under my door. No signature, just block letters, "Back off or your baby pays." My knees went weak. I sank into my chair, staring at the paper. This wasn't legal maneuvering anymore. This was a direct threat. With shaking hands, I photographed it, texted it to Carmen, then walked on unsteady legs to Principal Thompson's office. He was on the phone when I entered, but ended the call quickly. Too quickly. "Sarah, how are you holding up?" I placed the note on his desk, watched the color drain from his face again. This was under my door. This is... He cleared his throat. "Have you considered that perhaps taking some early maternity leave might be wise, just until things calm down?" "You're suggesting I run?" "I'm suggesting you protect yourself and your child." "Sarah, be realistic. The Brooks family has resources we can't match. And now with threats like this, so we let them win. Let them buy their way out of consequences again." Thompson's shoulders sagged. In that moment, he looked older than his 55 years. 20 years ago, I'd have fought beside you. But I've seen what happens to people who cross them. Good people. People who just wanted to do their jobs. What happened to them? He stared at the note. They found reasons, budget cuts, performance issues that materialized from nowhere. One teacher's husband suddenly lost his city construction contract. Another's daughter didn't get into any colleges despite perfect grades. He looked up at me. They don't just come for you, Sarah. They come for everyone you love. The weight of that settled over me like a shroud. It wasn't just my fight anymore. It was James's fight. Our daughter's fight. My parents, who'd sacrificed everything to see me succeed. But if I backed on them now, if I let them win, what would I tell my daughter when she asked why bullies always seemed to win? Why the rich played by different rules? Why her mother let them? "I need you to document this threat officially," I said quietly. "For the police report." Thompson nodded slowly. "I'll call security to walk you to your car after school. Every day until this is resolved." The rest of the day crawled by. Tyler wasn't in school, probably consulting with Daddy's legal team, but Madison and Connor were. Their presence a constant reminder. They sat in the back of my 5th period class, whispering and smirking. Every equation I wrote, every problem I solved, felt like performing under hostile surveillance. When the final bell rang, I was exhausted in ways that had nothing to do with pregnancy. Officer Dale, our school security, waited outside my classroom. Heard you might need an escort. Mrs. Martinez. Thank you, I managed, gathering papers I probably wouldn't grade tonight. We walked in silence through emptying hallways. At the parking lot, Dale stopped. Ma'am, your car. I followed his gaze and gasped. All 4 tires had been slashed. The word snitch was keyed deep into the driver's side door and tucked under the windshield wiper. Another note, this is just the beginning. Dale was already on his radio, calling for backup and administration. Within minutes, the parking lot filled with security. Then police. Principal Thompson arrived, his face grave. Even a few school board members showed up, probably alerted to the potential PR nightmare. Officer Patricia Wells, who took my statement, was thorough and kind. Any idea who might have done this? I almost laughed. Besides, the family currently suing me for $500,000, we can't assume. Check the cameras, I said flatly. Oh, wait, I bet they mysteriously malfunctioned. Right. Officer Wells' expression told me I'd guessed correctly. As we waited for the tow truck, Carmen arrived like cavalry in a modest Honda. She surveyed the damage with the calculating look of someone adding up damages in a future lawsuit. They just gave us gifts, she said quietly. Threatening notes, vandalism, clear pattern of escalation. This isn't legal hardball anymore. This is criminal intimidation. They'll say it's random, unconnected. They'll say a lot of things, but patterns don't lie. Math teacher like you should appreciate that. She pulled out her phone, started taking photos. From now on, you don't go anywhere alone. Park only in visible spots. And Sarah, she met my eyes. Maybe consider staying with family for a few days. That night, James and I drove to my parents' house in Tempe. My mother clucked over me in Spanish, forcing food I couldn't eat while my father paced the kitchen, muttering curses that didn't need translation. Maybe, my mother said carefully, setting down yet another plate. Maybe the school is right. Take leave. Mija, have the baby in peace. There won't be peace, Mama. Not if I run. They'll just find another way to punish me for speaking up. My father stopped pacing. When I came to this country, men with money told me I was nothing, paid me nothing, treated me like nothing. You know what I did, Papa. I documented everything, every missing hour of pay, every racist comment, every safety violation. Took me 3 years. But when I finally had enough, I went to the labor board. They laughed at first. Who was I? Just another illegal making trouble. But the numbers. He smiled grimly. Numbers don't lie. Got back pay for 30 workers. Company had to pay fines. Owner tried to threaten me, but by then, newspaper was involved. This is different, Papa. These people own newspapers. No, Mija is same. Bullies are bullies. They count on fear, on silence. You already broke the silence. Now, he shrugged, now we see who blinks first. Later, lying in my childhood bed with James beside me, I felt the baby kick, strong, insistent, like she was already fighting. James's hand covered mine on my belly. You know what I keep thinking about, he said quietly. That student who came to you. The one who paid them but felt guilty. How many others are out there, wanting to speak up but too scared? Probably dozens. The Brooks crew wasn't exactly subtle about their business. So maybe that's your answer. Maybe it's not just about you versus them anymore. Maybe it's about giving those kids permission to tell the truth. I turned to face him in the dark. Carmen said they'd come after you, too. Your job. Your... Let them try. His voice was steel. My foreman's son was one of the kids who paid for those answers. He's been sick about it. Wants to come forward, but doesn't know how. If we back down now... Sarah, what message does that send? Tuesday morning arrived with a new development. Carmen called before dawn, her voice electric with possibility. Check your email, now. I fumbled for my phone, opened the message she'd forwarded. It was from a Gmail address I didn't recognize. Subject line, "You're not alone." Inside were screenshots, dozens of them, text messages between Tyler, Madison, and Connor discussing their operation. Venmo transactions with memo lines like tutoring, with winking emojis. Most damning. A video file grainy but clear enough of the three counting cash in Tyler's BMW, laughing about stupid teachers and untouchable status. Who sent this? I breathed. Anonymous for now. But Sarah, this changes everything. This isn't just your word anymore. This is evidence. Real, documented evidence of a conspiracy to commit academic fraud. Can we use it if we don't know the source? We can authenticate it through digital forensics. If it's real, and my gut says it is someone in their inner circle just flipped. The weight that had been crushing my chest for days lifted slightly. Maybe David had found his stone after all, but later that morning. As I sat in Carmen's office planning our response to the Brooks lawsuit, her assistant knocked urgently. Ms. Vasquez, Channel 12 is running a breaking news story you need to see. We crowded around the small TV. Robert Brooks's face filled the screen, perfectly composed in front of his firm's marble entrance. Rushing to judgment based on the unsubstantiated claims of a disturbed individual. Mrs. Martinez has a history of targeting successful students, particularly those from prominent families. We have evidence of grade manipulation, inappropriate conduct, and what appears to be a personal vendetta against my son. Lies, I whispered. All of it lies. Shh. Satarman turned up the volume. Furthermore, Brooks continued, we've learned that Mrs. Martinez has been under investigation by the school board for months regarding irregularities in her teaching methods and concerning behavior that several students have reported. The reporter, young and eager, pressed forward with her microphone. Can you elaborate on these irregularities? Brooks's smile was practiced, paternal, poisonous. I'm not at liberty to discuss ongoing investigations, but I will say this: when the full truth comes out, the public will understand why we've taken legal action to protect not just my son, but all the students at Roosevelt High who deserve better than a teacher who uses her position to pursue personal vendettas. The report cut to student interviews. Madison Chen, tears streaming perfectly down her face. She's always hated us, called us privileged, entitled, said we didn't deserve our success. Connor Wilson, jaw set with righteous anger. Tyler worked so hard to improve his grades. Now she's trying to destroy his future because she can't accept that some students actually apply themselves. Each word was a calculated dagger. But the final blow came from someone unexpected, Brittany Coleman, a student I'd helped through algebra struggles all year. Mrs. Martinez plays favorites. If you're not one of her chosen ones, she makes your life hell. I'm glad someone's finally standing up to her. Carmen turned off the TV. The silence that followed was deafening. He's poisoning the jury pool, she said finally. Classic Brooks move. Try the case in the media before it ever sees a courtroom. But Brittany, I tutored her for free. spent lunch hours helping her understand. My voice broke. How much did they pay her to say that? Doesn't matter. What matters is our response. Sarah, you need to understand we're not just fighting a legal battle anymore. We're fighting for your reputation, your career, your future. Carmen pulled out her laptop. Time to go on offense. But I barely heard her strategy talk. All I could think about was Brittany's face on that screen. How easily she'd sold out someone who'd tried to help her. How many others would follow, how many would choose the Brooks money over the truth. If you've ever stood up to someone more powerful than you, only to watch people you trusted side with them out of fear or greed, you know how alone I felt in that moment. Please, hit that thank button. Sometimes the hardest part isn't facing your enemies. It's watching everyone else decide whether you're worth defending. The baby kicked again. Harder this time. A reminder that I wasn't alone. Not really. And that some fights are too important to abandon, no matter how many allies desert you. All right, I said, straightening in my chair. What do we do? Carmen's smile was sharp as a blade. We remind Mr. Brooks that in America, money can buy a lot of things, but it can't buy the truth. She started typing. First, we file our response. Then, we hold our own press conference. And Sarah, we're going to need that student who came to you. The guilty one. It's time for them to choose a side. As we worked through lunch, planning our counterattack, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Mrs. M, I saw the news. It's all lies. Check your email. More coming. They can't buy all of us. A friend. Maybe, just maybe. The army of Davids was bigger than Goliath thought, but the war was just beginning, and the next shot fired would change everything. The army of Davids grew faster than anyone expected. Within 48 hours of Brooks's media ambush, 17 students had contacted Carmen through encrypted channels. Each one had paid for answers. Each one carried guilt like a stone in their chest. And each one was tired of the Brooks family's stranglehold on their futures. But it was the 18th message that changed everything. Mrs. Martinez, the email began. My name is Ashley Brooks. Tyler is my cousin. I have something you need to see. Carmen and I met Ashley at a diner 30 miles outside Phoenix. She was nothing like Tyler quiet, where he was loud, thoughtful where he was arrogant. Her hands shook as she pushed a flash drive across the table. I've watched my family destroy people my whole life, she said quietly. Teachers, business partners, anyone who got in their way. I kept telling myself it wasn't my problem, until I saw what they're doing to you, to your baby. Her voice cracked. My aunt had a miscarriage during a lawsuit 15 years ago. Stress, the doctors said. My uncle laughed about it at Christmas dinner, said it saved them from paying more damages. The flash drive contained everything. Financial records showing the SAT scheme went back 3 years. Text messages between Robert Brooks and school board members. Even a recorded conversation where Tyler bragged about making me lose that baby from stress. Why, I asked Ashley, why risk this? She met my eyes. Because someone should have done it years ago. Because maybe if they had, you wouldn't be sitting here, 7 months pregnant, fighting for your career. She stood to leave, then paused. Be careful, Mrs. Martinez. When they realize I'm helping you, they'll escalate. They always do. She was right. Thursday morning started like any other. I parked in my new spot near the main entrance, security cameras covering every angle. Officer Dale walked me to my classroom. Everything felt controlled. Safe. By lunch, That illusion shattered. I was heading to the teacher's lounge, student papers in hand, mind on the anonymous testimonies Carmen was collecting. The stairwell was empty. Most people took the elevator. I should have too. But pregnancy had made me stubborn about staying active. I heard him before I saw him, Tyler's voice echoing down from the landing above. "Hey, teacher!" My blood froze. He wasn't supposed to be on campus, suspended pending investigation. But there he stood, blocking my path upward, his smile all teeth and malice. "Tyler, you need to leave. Now." "Or what? You'll report me," he laughed, moving down 2 steps. "You've already played that card." I backed down slowly, one hand on the railing, the other protecting my belly. "Security knows I'm here. They'll find you eventually." Another step down. His eyes were wild, pupils dilated. "You know what my dad said? Said you're like a roach. Stomp on you. You keep crawling, but every roach has a breaking point." "Tyler, think about what you're doing. You're on camera. Am I?" His smile widened. "Funny thing about cameras, sometimes they break. Sometimes footage gets corrupted. Money's amazing that way." I reached for my phone, but he was faster. His hand shot out, grabbing my wrist. "No calling for help. We're going to talk." "Let go." I kept my voice steady despite the panic clawing at my throat. "Now. You ruined everything." His grip tightened. "Harvard. My future. Everything, because you couldn't mind your own business. You ruined it yourself when you decided to cheat." "Wrong thing to say." His face contorted with rage. "I earned that future. My family earned it. You're just some nobody teacher who thinks—" He shoved me. Time slowed. I felt my feet leave the step, my hand torn from the railing. The papers scattered like snow. My body twisted, trying to protect my baby. Always protect the baby. The edges of concrete steps rushed up to meet me. Then hands caught me. Strong hands, pulling me against the wall. Carlos, our janitor, had appeared from nowhere, his mop clattering down the stairs as he held me steady. "You okay, Mrs. M?" His voice was urgent. "The baby—" Tyler stood frozen above us, his face draining of color as he realized what he'd almost done, what he'd tried to do. "You pushed me," I whispered, shock making the words small. "You tried to—" "I didn't. I wasn't." Tyler backed up the stairs. "She tripped." "You saw her trip." Carlos's voice was steel. "I saw everything. Niño, everything." The next minutes blurred together. Security arriving, police, paramedics checking my vitals while Tyler was handcuffed, his protests echoing off concrete walls. "She fell. I didn't touch her. My dad will destroy all of you." At the hospital, James held my hand while doctors monitored the baby. Strong heartbeat, no distress. Our daughter was a fighter. Like her mother. The bruises on my wrist where Tyler had grabbed me were photographed. Documented. Added to evidence, Carmen arrived like an avenging angel. Assault on a pregnant woman. Attempted murder of an unborn child. That's 25 to life in Arizona. She squeezed my shoulder. He finally gave us the rope to hang him with. The news cycle exploded. Prominent lawyer's son attacks pregnant teacher. The security footage, the real footage that Tyler didn't know about. From the new camera installed just that week, showed everything. His approach, his grab, the shove. Carlos's heroic save. But it was the audio that damned him. Every word captured in crystal clarity. including his admission about corrupting footage and his father's roach comment. Robert Brooks's empire began crumbling within hours. 3 school board members resigned rather than face questions about their text messages. The FBI opened an investigation into the SAT scheme, now spanning multiple states. Brooks and associates lost 4 major clients in one day. The criminal trial was swift. Tyler, in orange jumpsuit and shackles, looked nothing like the golden boy who'd terrorized Roosevelt High. His father's legal team fought viciously, arguing momentary lapse, stress-induced reaction, even attempting the affluenza defense. But 12 jurors watched that video. 12 citizens heard him threaten my baby. And 12 voices said, "Guilty." Judge Patricia Chen's sentencing made headlines. This court has seen too many cases where privilege is mistaken for permission, where wealth is assumed to grant immunity from consequence. Mr. Brooks, you didn't just assault a teacher. You assaulted the very foundation of our education system, the belief that truth matters more than money. 5 years in state prison. Tyler's scream of, "This isn't fair," echoed through the courtroom. Fair. He finally learned what unfair really meant. The civil trial followed. Carmen had been right. We sued everyone. Tyler, his parents, the school district for failure to protect, the security company for the mysteriously malfunctioning cameras. Our demand $5 million. Outrageous, Robert Brooks had sputtered during depositions. But as witness after witness testified, students with receipts, Ashley with her recordings, even Brittany Coleman admitting she'd been paid $3,000 to lie on TV, his bluster faded. We settled for $2.3 million. But the money wasn't the victory. The victory was Robert Brooks's law license being suspended pending ethics review. Madison Chen and Connor Wilson taking plea deals that included testifying against the broader SAT conspiracy, Roosevelt High implementing new whistleblower protections, and Sarah's Law. I testified before the Arizona State Legislature 8 weeks after giving birth. Isabella, she had my dark hair after all, slept in James's arms as I spoke. Every teacher in this room has faced a Tyler Brooks, a student who believes consequences don't apply to them. Parents who use wealth and influence as weapons. But how many teachers stay silent out of fear? How many let corruption flourish because speaking up costs too much? I held up the photos of my bruised wrist. This is what happens when we make truth-telling dangerous, when we allow bullies to use lawsuits and threats to silence educators. Sarah's Law will change that. Assault on a pregnant educator becomes an automatic felony. Frivolous lawsuits against whistleblowing teachers face immediate sanctions. Schools must install working security cameras in all areas. The law passed unanimously. Even Robert Brooks' political allies couldn't vote against protecting pregnant teachers without seeming monstrous. Today, I'm back in my classroom. Same desk, same view. But everything's different. Officer Dale still walks me to my car sometimes, but now it's from friendship, not fear. My students know my story, how could they not? And it's become a different kind of lesson. Mathematics doesn't lie, I tell each new class. People do, numbers don't. And sometimes, standing up for that truth costs everything you have. But silence, I point to Isabella's photo on my desk. Silence costs even more. Ashley Brooks is in law school now, determined to be the lawyer her uncle never was. Carlos received a citizenship award from the mayor, and somewhere in state prison. Tyler Brooks is learning that actions have consequences, even for golden boys. If you've ever been that teacher, that employee, that person who saw wrong and wondered if speaking up was worth it. I can't promise it will be easy. But I can promise this somewhere out there is a student who needs to see someone stand up. Somewhere is a child learning that truth matters. Somewhere is another Sarah, feeling less alone because you refused to be silent. The baby kicks as I write this. Isabella reaching for her toys with hands that will never have to make the choices I did. Because, sometimes, changing the world starts with refusing to let bullies win. Even when they have all the money. Even when they have all the power. Even when you're just a math teacher from Phoenix who did the numbers and found them wanting. Especially then. The last time I saw Robert Brooks was at a coffee shop downtown, 6 months after the trials ended. He sat alone, scrolling through his phone, his empire reduced to rubble. When our eyes met, I expected anger, threats, maybe another lawsuit. Instead, he looked away, first the universal gesture of defeat. But it was what happened next that stayed with me. A young teacher approached my table, nervous but determined. "Mrs. Martinez, I'm facing something similar at my school. Administration is covering up grade buying. I don't know if I'm brave enough." I thought about all the teachers who had been silenced before me, all the Tyler Brookses still out there, untouched and untouchable. Then I looked at Isabella, playing with her father's keys, blissfully unaware of the battles fought for her future. "Bravery isn't feeling no fear," I told her, pulling out Carmen's business card. "It's feeling the fear and speaking anyway. Call this number. Tell her I sent you." She left with hope in her eyes and steel in her spine. Another David, finding her stones. Because that's how we win. Not in grand gestures or single victories, but in the quiet multiplication of courage. One teacher, one truth, one stand at a time. The numbers always add up in the end. We just have to be willing to do the math.